Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So today we will continue our lesson on chapter 1. We're still in chapter 1, but this time it is for part 2, and then we will be focusing on more on the Java itself, okay? For the Java programming. So last week we have learned about OOP, okay, as an introduction. What is OOP? So before we proceed to Java, to the introduction to Java, I would like to make a quick recap on what we have learned during our first chapter. During our yes, we are still in chapter 1, but we are in part 1 in chapter 1. Okay. So last time we have learned about the introduction of OOP. So previously we have learned about procedural programming. Okay. So you have learned C programming. So in this semester you will learn more on OOP. So you will more focusing on Java programming language. There are a lot of OOP languages. There are Java, there are PHP, there are .NET, there are C#, there are Python, and many more. So in this subject, we will focusing on Java only. So as compared to procedural, OOP focus on objects, okay, as compared with procedural, which focus on creating procedures, okay, like this. Okay, whereas for Java, we are focusing on creating objects. So the example of this case study, okay, let's say we have a person, we have account, we have money, we have account number. When we write a program, we need to represent this case study. You need to start thinking of what are the functions that will be available in that program. So at the first glance, you need to write withdraw function. You need to write deposit function. You need to write a transfer function. Whereas in OOP, you need to think of what are the objects. Okay, as I mentioned before, objects can be living and non-living things, right? So in this case, the living thing should be, so in this case, the living things should be the customer itself, and then the non-living things should be the money, and then the account. So these two are non-living things. So put all together, these are the objects. Okay. So and then another things in OOP, we combine both data and function together in one class. Okay. Whereas in procedural, we separate the data and we separate the function. Okay. So this is example of a class whereby we combine the data, okay, Okay, and these are the functions. Okay, and we combine it together. Okay, this is the left hand side is the procedural programming, and right hand side is the DOOP programming. Okay, this one using Java, the left one is using C. So as you can see here, we have an add function. So this function is just simply to sum up two numbers. So these numbers are required from user and or user input. So in procedural, we separate add function and the data itself. Okay, number one and number two. Okay, why I said it is separate? Because it is this function is located outside of the main, and then there is no class. Okay, no class inside procedural. Okay, so whereas in the OP, these are the data. Okay, these two, this is the function, and then we combine both inside one class. Okay, so the function and the data resided in one class. Okay, so the term of combining data and function together in one class, we call it as encapsulation. So so these are the terminologies of okay, this is one of the terminologies of class. Class is a blueprint of or a template of object that is actually made. And then we have object. Object is actually an instance of the class. Okay, for example, we have car class. Car of the class of the car. Proton will be object of the car. And okay, so object is an instance of the class. And then attributes and methods. Okay, for this one. So inside a class, we have attributes and we have methods. Okay, another it is just another term of data and also functions. Okay, we can also call as attribute as data and attribute and method as functions. It brings to the same meaning. Okay, for this one, then abstraction. Okay, so abstraction aims to hide complexity from the users. So in OOP, what you need to focus on is just you just need to use the code. You don't need to know how to you don't need to know how it works. Okay, and then encapsulation. After this is encapsulation. Okay, encapsulation is what I mentioned previously is the combination of data, for attributes and also procedures or methods in one package. Okay, and hiding the implementation of data. And then data hiding. I I think I've shown you something about this whereby here whereby okay I declare the data okay as private. Okay, so what I why I declare it as private, because I don't want these two data to be directly accessed directly manipulated. Okay, so in order to instantiate the value of number one and number two, it needs to go through from the function. Okay, so in this case, okay, let's say if I want to set the value of number one, I need to go through it to this function set number one. Okay, here. So I cannot okay, let's say I want to assign number one it as 12. Okay, let's say I want to assign as 12. Okay, if I want to implement data hiding, we can't do it. Okay, so we need to assign the number one through set number one here. Okay, same as number two, I set the number two with set number two function here. Okay, so this is the concept of data hiding, where we hide we private the data, and then we create another function in order to create the data, meaning that we cannot directly declare the value of data. Same goes when you want to access the value of number one to number two. We cannot directly access the value. We need to go through the function. In this case, we use get addition to access the value number one and number two. Okay, so don't worry, you will learn this further in chapter 3 if I'm not mistaken. As for now, it is just sufficient you know the basic on how it works. And then this function also called as setters. Okay, normally we start with the word set number one. So we call this method or this function as setters. Okay, and then this function is getters. Okay, normally we start with get keyword here, but it's not compulsory. But it just naming convention. Okay, it's not compulsory that you need to follow every time you write the coding. Okay, is recommendable to start with set and get. Okay, in order to distinguish whether this method is setters or getters. So setters to assign the value, so getters to get the value, okay, or to acquire the value. Okay, so that's why I put here in notes, okay, as getter and setter. Okay, okay, by providing getter and or setter methods. That one for data hiding, and then inheritance. Okay, So inheritance is the ability of one class to extend the capabilities of another. Let's say for this example, we have three classes: vehicle, car, and pickup. And then car inherit vehicle. Okay, same goes with pickup. It also inherit the vehicle. What does inherit means that car class inherit the attributes and the functions of vehicles. So it takes the characteristic of the vehicles. Same goes with the same goes to like we as child, right? We might inherit some of our parents' character. So same goes to this. Same goes to this case. Okay. Okay. So this is the base class. Okay. The vehicle or parent class. Okay. These below here are the child class. Okay. Okay. Child inherit whatever parent have. Okay. So inheritance might support code reusability, meaning that let's say if you want to use color over here, okay, color over here, car should have color over here. So by providing inheritance, we do not need instantiate color over here again. Okay. So that's why I said, so we can leverage or we can reuse, okay, without the, we just reuse it, we just inherit whatever vehicle have into a new class, okay, into a child class. Okay, that is inheritance. Then polymorphism, it means many forms. Okay. Okay, in order for you to implement polymorphism, you need to implement inheritance first. You cannot use polymorphism without having inheritance. You need to bear in mind. Okay, let's say we have a parent class of sheep, and then we have a bunch of classes, a bunch of child classes, circle, triangle, rectangle. All of these classes inherits shape. In shape, we have area, method name, area. Same goes to all of the child classes. Circle have area, triangle has area, rectangle has area. So polymorphism is it means a reference variable is always of single unchangeable type, but it can refer to a subtype object. Okay, a single object can be referred to by reference. Okay, of many different types as long as they are the same type or supertype of the object. The reference variable type, not the object type, determines which methods can be called. Allows extensibility. So, okay, we have area over here. Okay, so this is a basic method resided in parent class. However, in circle, we have the same name. Okay, we might have different behavior or different procedures in how we calculate the area of circle. Same goes with the triangle. We have the same name. We inherit the same function. However, in this triangle, we we override whatever inside whatever calculation in this area to suit the area in the triangle. Same goes to the rectangle. Okay. So it is a same function, but it is in many forms. All right. Okay, so this is the chapter 1, part 1. Okay, so now we move to chapter 2. Okay. Okay, I cannot see the. Never mind. Okay. So, chapter 1, part 2. Okay. Okay, now moving on to part 2. Okay, in this part 2, we will learn introduction to Java. Okay, and then the Java language specification, Java development tools, how to create, compile, and run Java programs, Java program development process, Java portability, anatomy of Java programs. Okay, so okay, so So at the end of this chapter, you should be able to understand Java programming language, know how to create, compile, and run Java programs, understand the anatomy of Java programs. Okay. Okay. Introduction to Java. Java is an object-oriented language that is built around the concept of objects. Okay. Okay. As I mentioned before, object is instance of a class. So whenever we write a program using OOP language, we need to concentrate more on creating the objects rather than creating the procedures or functions. So the first step, you need to determine what are the objects that you need to declare inside your program. Okay. So there are many of OOP languages. So the most prominent one is Java. Java was created by Sun Microsystems team led by Patrick Norton and James Gosling in 1991. Okay, so and then Sun Microsystems was purchased by Oracle in 2010. So now Java is owned by Oracle. You might familiar in the name of Oracle. Okay, Oracle is actually the company that develop database software. Okay, so I think you will learn database subject in uh, next semester, in semester 2, right? Okay. So and so Oracle is one of the company that provide database software. But their software most likely need to most likely need to why you will using free license software lah for database. If I'm not mistaken, you will use MariaDB software or MariaDB or MySQL. Okay, so Java was originally named as Oak before it was named as Java. It was named as Oak. Okay, why? Because the founder, the James Gosling, he's very like the look of an oak tree that was right outside his window at Sun Microsystem. Okay, and then Java was intended to be designed for small computer language that could be used for consumer devices or appliances such as TVs, refrigerators, etc. So during the beginning of Java, it was intentionally used. It was intentionally created to be used for small appliances or consumer devices, not for not for not for computers, not for desktop at that time. Okay, not for desktop, not for laptop, but more on home appliances, okay, such as TV, refrigerators. So they created Java because they find difficulties in terms of creating a standardized language that can be fit for most of the appliances. So it is a difficult task because these devices do not have a lot of power or memory, and then the language had to be small and generate very tight code. Uh, we take example for a TV, right? Okay, so TV, the board is quite small, and then because of it's small, and then probably the memory capacity might also be small. Okay, and then it is very difficult to fit a very large program inside a small memory. And then every manufacturer and every TV manufacturer might choose different CPU. Okay, so whenever we have different CPU, it might be we have different architecture. When we have different architecture, we cannot simply use same language across all the devices, all the TVs. Let's say Sharp, let's say um, x86 processor, and then let's say another brand like, for example, Toshiba, they use ARM architecture processor. x86 and ARM architecture are different architectures, so we cannot simply use C for both platform. That is why they invented Java, so they can use this Java, okay, across multiple platform, meaning that they do not need to create or different compilers or different appliances. They just concentrate on one language that program created by that language can be used across multiple platform regardless of whatever architectures they are using. So that is the intention of creating Java. Okay. Okay, then the team developed a two-step translation process to simplify the task of compiler writing for each class of appliances or machines. Okay, what are the two-step translations? You have done lab 1. Okay, if you still remember, whenever you run, okay, whenever you compile, okay, this is lab 1. Whenever you compile Java program, it will create this one. Okay, whenever you run, it will create the class in the okay, at the beginning you only have hello app.java, and then after you run Java, okay, you Java, C stand for compiler, C stand for compiler. So Java compiler, it will create another file with the extension of .class. This is the first translation, meaning that this Java will create or translate into the bytecode. Okay, so .class is a bytecode. Okay, okay. This .class, okay, will be read by JVM. I will explain about the JVM, Java Virtual Machine. Okay, in order for it to be run, it cannot be run simply just by having hello app class, then you write Java command. So you need to have JVM. Okay, that is the two-step translation. This is the explanation of two-step translation. Okay. The first translation that the first translation is to create the .class, and then the second translation to run the .class using JVM. Okay, significance of Java translation process. Okay. Okay, I lost the recording part. Where is it? Okay. Okay. Okay, significance of Java translation process. Writing a compiler for, or we can call it as translation program for each type of appliances, computers, mobile phones, electrical machines, would have been very costly and time consuming. As I mentioned before, every manufacturers might opt or choose different architectures for their products. So it can be cumbersome if we as developer need to write a different compiler for every machine or for every appliances. Instead, they develop intermediate language that is the same for all types of processor which is called Java bytecode. So hello app.class, this is Java bytecode. Java bytecode is not the machine language for any particular computer. It is a program code that has been compiled from source code. Okay. Hello app.java is a source code. Then after you compile it, then it will create Java byte file is an extension of the class. Okay. So it is a program code that has been compiled from source code into low level code. Meaning that it has 0 and 1. It uses 0 and 1 language. That is a low level code, 0 and 1, which is then to be run with Java virtual machine. So this hello.class later on will be run by JVM in order to produce uh, the output. Okay, hello there, welcome to Java. So JVM then translate the bytecode into machine language for any particular computer. In order for you to understand better what is JVM. Okay, so in this figure, let's say we have a source code here. So in this source code, we just simply print out the value of I. Okay, we print out the value of I. We want to print out the value of I. So later on, we compile it using Java C syntax, Java C command. Then it will create the dot class file, which is the bytecode. It will represent it in low level language. Okay, let's say I compile this in Windows. Okay. And then I have a dot class file. I take the dot class file and then I move it into Mac OS. Do I need to do the compilation again? No need. Okay. What I need to do is I install the JVM for Mac OS. Okay. And then I can run the dot class file. The dot class file, the dot class is already a file that already compiled. Okay, so I need to do to run with JVM. So dot class file is universal. You can run it anywhere. Although you compile it in Windows, although you created it in Windows, you can also run in Linux. You can run it in Mac OS. Also, you can run it in Android. Also, you can run it in Windows. As long as this machine are installed with JVM. So in the previous lab, whenever you download, so whenever you download Java development here, Java development kit, right? Okay. Yeah. You already download the JVM. Okay. It's already packaged inside the Java development kit along with the predefined classes, which mean all the classes that have been developed by Oracle is already there along with JVM. You don't need to worry. It's already there. Okay. Okay. Let's say you install Linux. Okay. On your machine, then you need to install a JVM. You need to download the JDK for Linux in order for you to run the .class file. You your .class file already compiled in Windows, still you can run it in Linux as long as you have a JVM. Okay. Okay. So as the name suggests, right, Java Virtual Machine, it is a virtual machine, okay, located. Uh, Wait, I have to search back the BSDC. Hmm. Where's the BSDC part? Alright, I give one another example. Okay, as opposed to virtual, we can have a, a physical machine. Okay, virtual machine is a simply machine that is intangible, meaning that you can see, okay, you can see, but you cannot touch it. Okay, you cannot touch it. That is a virtual. Okay, for example, right now, um, I'm running, um, I'm running a Mac OS. Okay, so let's say I want to um, run Windows application. I can't run Windows application in Mac OS. So I have two options. The first option is I buy a new laptop or a new PC, okay, which mean a physical machine, and then install Windows and then install, okay, everything. Or second option, I install virtual machine inside the Mac OS. Okay, so this is example of virtual machine. You need to I have Mac OS, and then inside Mac OS I run Windows inside Mac OS. Okay. Okay. Java is a full-featured general-purpose programming language that is capable of developing robust mission-critical applications. Okay, today it is used for developing standalone applications, desktop, web programming, servers, and mobile devices. So, what you can do using Java is amazing. You can create standalone application. You can develop web application, and also you can also develop mobile application. If you develop web-based application, there are two there are two yet that you can consider. The first one is to create an applet, what we call as applet. Java can be run on the web browser called the applet. Okay, meaning that take this example, simple example of hello world. Okay, here in hello world. So in your first lab, you run it in command line. Okay, your Windows command prompt. Okay, and then you get this output. This is considered as stand-alone program. However, you can also run hello there, welcome to Java. Okay, this output you can run it on a browser. Okay, on a browser. Okay, so such application is called applets. Okay, and then you can also develop web application. You call it as Java Servlet or Java Server Pages. Okay, so if you go any website and then you find an extension of JSP, that's meaning that website is developed using Java servlets or Java Server Pages. Simply meaning that developed using Java. Okay, so this is just category of Java, category of what you can do using Java. Meaning that you can create applets, you can create Java servlets and Java server pages, and also you can develop Java for mobile applications. Okay. Okay, I want to share with you here. Okay, we have Java server pages. Um, okay. I give you example for say Maybank to you. Okay, it has extension of .do. Okay. Okay, so .do meaning that this website use Java. Okay, so apart from using JSP, Java Servlet or Java Server Pages also has the extension of DO. If you Google what is DO extension for, DO extension for, just to do code extension. Where is that? Previously, I saw the explanation of the do extension. Java. Let's see. Okay. So a DO file is a web-based Java program run by a web server. Okay. Meaning that this bank to you is developed using Java. Okay, Java server pages or Java servlet. Okay. Okay. Next, Java language specification. Java language specification defines the Java standard and the technical definition of the language that includes the syntax and semantics of the Java programming language. Okay. So simply put, Java language specification is the manual of Java. Okay, how to use Java, how to use certain classes or methods or that comes along with the Java predefined classes. So you can just Google Java language specification. Okay, if you Google, choose the first one, Java SE specification. So head head, head on to the latest one, Java SE 17. Okay, and then you might find the documentation. Okay, HTML. Okay, these are information given. Okay, choose this one. No. Okay, this one. Okay, class. Okay, okay. Class modifiers, class declaration. So it's just manual how to write Java or how to use a certain classes or functions provided by Java. Okay, this the okay. Java application program interface contain predefined classes and interface for developing Java programs. There are three editions of Java API. Okay. The one that you have downloaded last week is the first one, Java SE. Okay. So Java SE, Java Standard Edition, is used to develop client-side application. The application can run standalone or as applets running from a web browser. So by having Java SE, you can create standalone application, the one that you already did in lab one. Okay, the Hello World. Okay, or you can develop applet. Okay. Hello there, welcome to Java. Okay, this time you can run in browser. Okay. Java Enterprise Edition. If you want to develop server-side application, okay, something you want to create like mapping to you, okay, or you need to have Java EE Enterprise Edition. Okay. And then if you want to create mobile application, you need to download Java Java Micro Edition. This one for mobile devices, mostly for iPhone. Because because iOS it has its own language. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, they're using Objective C language. Okay. So in this course, we will use Java SE as of introduction of Java programming. So currently October 2021, Java SE 17 is the latest release of Java SE. So 17 is the release number. Every year it will update. There will having updates. Okay, once in a year. Okay, meaning that next year there will be Java 18. Okay, so if you use recent release of Java, I really to uh, uninstall the previous Java. Okay, because in my experience somehow it might be some conflicts. Okay. Okay. That is like say you want to work in next year using Java 18, you have to uninstall Java SE 17. Okay, next, Java Development Tools. This is the software that provides an integrated development environment for rapidly developing Java programs. So, the one that you did in Lab 1, okay, you cover two environments of developing Java program. The first thing is Java development kit without IDE. Okay, using Notepad without IDE. Okay, no integrated environment. So what you are using that time you are using Notepad. So Notepad is not IDE. Notepad is just text editor. Okay, the most popular IDE for Java are Eclipse, NetBeans. So Eclipse and NetBeans originally they were made they were developed to create Java programs. Okay, to develop Java programs. But nowadays you can also create C program and even PHP using Eclipse. Okay, so it has extend its capability of or rather than having to develop Java only, they extend its capability to develop more programming language. Okay, so and other than Eclipse and NetBeans, it have IntelliJ. Personally, I haven't used this one, and BlueJ. Most of the time, I use either Eclipse or NetBeans. Recently, I use Visual Studio Code. Okay, you can also use Visual Studio. Okay. Okay, create Java programs. Java programs are standalone programs that can be executed from any computer with a JVM. Okay, as what I mentioned before. Okay, if you are using Windows, you want to run the Java source code or Java bytecode, you need to have JVM installed in that particular machine. Java programs can also be referred as Java source code. Okay. You can use any text editor or IDE to create and edit a Java program. You can use Notepad, you can use TextPad as a text editor, or you can use Eclipse or uh, Java Visual Studio Code as for your IDE. A Java program should have a .java file extension. Okay, .java. A Java program contains a class with a method named main. But it is not necessary that every Java source code should have main. It is not necessary. Okay, please remember this. A Java program should have class. Okay, it should have class, but it is not necessary to have uh, but it is not necessary to have the main method. Okay. Later on, you will find the example of this one. All Java application programs start with a main method. If that class have the main method, meaning that that application start with the main method. Whatever that it will run based whatever that you put inside the main method. Okay. A Java program should be named after the class name. For example, if a Java program consists a class name car, okay, let's say we have a source code and then inside the Java source code we have a class car. We write we have class car, and then you want to save it, you need to save it as car.java. Same goes with the first lab. Okay. I will show you your first lab here. Okay, this one, right? Hello app. So when you save it, you need to save it as the same as the class name, hello app, and add the .java extension here. Okay. However, A Java program can also consist of more than one class. In this case, the Java program should be named after the class name that has the main method declared inside it. Okay, in your first lab, okay, here, okay, public class hello app. So in this file, it has only one class, which is the hello app. But it can also have multiple classes inside a single source code. Okay. So let's say I want to create another class inside the hello app class here. It is possible. Let's say after this bracket, I create class hello world. Okay, for example, at the bottom. Okay, it is possible. Okay. However, when you want to name the file or you want to save it, you need to save it according to the class name that has the main method inside it. Let's say just now I created class hello world, kan? Okay. So inside hello world, there is no main function. There is no main function. So the one and only class that has the main function is a hello app. So later on, when I want to save the file, I need to name it after the class that has the main method inside it. In this case, I name it as hello app.java. Okay, although I have another class over here. The class is hello world. I need to name it as hello app. Why? Because the class hello app has that is the only class that has the main method. Okay. Okay. And okay. So this is what we have done in the first lab. Hello app is the class name. This is the main method. Okay, if you notice, it is quite lengthy. Okay, as compared to main in C. Main in C, you just write as int main or void main, or you can simply put main. But in Java, you need to write a big lengthy lah, right? A big wordy public static void main, and then inside bracket a string, okay, string args means arguments. Okay, you cannot miss one word for here. Public static void main. Okay, string arguments. As I mentioned before, all Java application programs starts with the main method. Okay, so here, so if that class has main method, it will execute whatever in a main method. So it will execute hello there, and it will execute welcome to Java. Okay, so this is another example. It is a single source code. It's a single Java file named as computer.java. However, in this case, we have two classes. Okay, we have class computer and we have class laptop here inside a single Java program. And then Java program, we name it as computer.java. Why we name it as computer.java? Simply because this one, we have public static void main resided inside the computer class, whereas in laptop class you don't have the main method. So file name should be named after the class that has main method. Okay, in this case it is a computer. So computer.java. Okay, understood okay. So we can have more than, in this example we have two classes. Okay, we can have 10 classes, 100 classes. We can put it inside one Java file. Okay, whenever you want to save it, you need to choose or you need to name it after the class that have main method. So let's say you have 10 classes. You need to pick only one class that has main method. Okay. If you put every class has its own main method, then you will get error. The only method that has main function should be one in a single Java file. Okay, dalam banyak-banyak kelas ni mesti ada satu je main. Okay, kalau nak letak main, okay, if you don't want to provide main, you should put only one class in a single Java file. Okay. If you want to put more than one class in a single Java file, you need to choose one of the class should have the main method. Okay. If you don't want to put many classes in one file, then most probably you can have main method or you don't have main method. Okay, you can create Java program using Windows Notepad. Okay, now we move with compile Java programs. A compiler is a program that translates source code into an executable form. Okay, executable meaning it can be run. Okay, a compiler is run using a Java program as input. Okay, so a compiler will take your Java source code as its input. And then what is the output? The output should be .class file. That is the output. Okay. Syntax error that may be in the program will be discovered during compilation. Let's say you are missing the semicolon when you run the Java command, Java C command, Java C command. Then it will display all the errors that you might have in your program. Syntax errors are mistakes that the programmer has made that violate the rules of the programming language, meaning that you cannot have that kind. You cannot have that kind of rules of convention in that in your program. Okay. In this case, the programmer is missing the semicolon kan. Okay. So it will display the error message. It will there. This one semicolon is expected. Okay. Because in Java you need to have semicolon. In Python, if you're familiar in Python, if you learn Python before, there is no semicolon. In every line of code, there is no semicolon if you are using Python. So different programming language will be having will be having different programming convention or rules. Okay. So the compiler, so one job of the compiler is to make sure that whatever that you write according to the rules. So the compilers for most programming language translate high-level programs directly into the machine language for a particular computer. So what is high-level program or high-level language? This is high-level language. Okay, so meaning that it was written in a form that we as a human can understand, normally in English. Okay, so this is what we call as high level language. So when we translate it into machine language or low level language, it will translate it into 0 and 1. Okay, so this is the high level language, and then it will translate into low level language that only machine can understand. So com- computer doesn't understand high level language. It only understand low level language or machine language, which is 0 and 1. Okay, so since different computers have different machine language architectures, a different compiler is needed for each one. Okay, but Java is not the case. Okay, because this dot class can be run on multiple platform as long as you install the JVM inside the machine. Dot class is cross-platform. Okay. Salah. Okay. In contrast, the Java compiler translates Java programs into bytecode. Okay. This is what I mean earlier. A machine language for fictitious computer called the Java Virtual Machine. Once compiled to bytecode, a Java program can be used on any computer. Okay, bytecode. My my byte bytecode files end with the .class file extension. So can be used on any computer provided with JVM installed. JVM is a virtual machine is an abstract machine that enables your computer to run a Java program or specifically to run the .class. Okay. When you run the Java program, Java compiler first compiles your Java code to bytecode. Then the JVM translate bytecode into native machine code. Okay, 0 and 1 set of instruction that computer CPU executes directly. So this is not directly 0 and 1. It depends on your architecture. So I think in every computer, there are two prominent architecture. The first one is x86 architecture, and also we have what we call as ARM architecture. Nowadays, most of the computers are running on x86 architecture. Whether you are using Intel processor, Intel CPUs, most likely you are using it x86, AMD included. If you are having AMD CPUs, we'll use x86 architecture. I think you have learned this during computer architecture, seni bidang computer. Okay, there are there is some brief introduction of machine language, such as there are syntax of add, move, apa lagi, add, move, that one you learn in seni bidang computer. That one is the instruction or native language, native machine code. Okay. Subtract, dah tak ingat dah semua. And then you have ARM architecture. ARM architecture mostly widely been used mobile phones. Okay, if you ever heard about Snapdragon, okay, Snapdragon is a CPU for mobile phone. And we have Exynos, mostly used by Samsung phone, Exynos. We have Bionic for iPhone. Huawei use Kirin. So all of these are using ARM architecture. Okay, so ARM architecture, the instruction will be different. Okay, okay. In our syllabus, we are more concentrating in x86. So in recent years, I think starting from this year, they are slowly moving or shifting from 86 to ARM. Okay. If you follow the technology in computers, you might find nowadays you have ARM based laptop. You have laptops with Snapdragon chipset, laptop with that run with M1 processor. Okay. M1 processor, M1 processor Apple. Okay. So they are slowly moving to ARM, okay, ARM based architecture. So whatever CPU that we have, whatever CPUs you have in phones nowadays, is being to be implemented in laptop, desktop. Okay. So Java is a platform independent language. It's because when you write Java code, it's ultimately written for JVM, but not your physical machine. So whenever you compile the Java code, so the dot class is ultimately written for JVM. It's not written for it's not written for x86 or Bionic or Kirin. It's ultimately written for JVM. Since JVM execute the Java bytecode, which is platform independent, Java is platform independent. So the dot class, I'm not sure whether the dot class that you create in x86 can be run in ARM architecture. This one I'm not sure. We need to test it. Okay. Hmm. So when you run Java program in a command prompt, so compiling, you need to use javac. Okay, you need to write the command Java followed by the name of your file without the extension. Okay, you need to write the extension of your file only during compilation, but during running, no need the extension. Just write Java and then welcome. Okay. Java program development process. So this is the summary of how you can develop a Java program, starting from your text editor or your IDE, your save your Java or source code in .java, and then being read by Java compiler. Then when you compile successfully, it will create the dot class. If there's error, it won't create the dot class. The compiler will create the dot class only if your program is error free. Okay, dot class. So from dot class is being run or read by JVM. When JVM read it, it will show the result or the output. Okay. Okay. So Java portability. Okay, portable means that a program that may be written on one type of computer and then run on a wide variety of computers with little or no modification. So Java bytecode runs on JVM and not on any particular CPU. Therefore, your compiled Java programs are highly portable. So Java is most likely very portable language. Okay. JVM exists on many platforms: Windows, Macintosh, Linux, BSD, etc. Okay. So with the most programming language, portability is achieved by compiling a program for each CPU it will run on, as compared with other programming language. Let's say in C, before this you are using Dev C. If I'm not mistaken, you are using Dev C. So Dev C is most probably is like C programming on Windows, but it cannot be run in Mac OS because it cannot run on Linux because when we when we do when you compile C program in Windows, it will it will create .exe file. Okay, executable files. Okay, so you write a C program and then when you compile in Windows, it will create .exe file kan. So exe file is a runnable program that it can be only run in Windows. However, okay, exe file cannot run in Linux. Okay, cannot be run in Mac OS because because Linux has its own file type, its own uh, its own runnable file types. Okay, I'm not sure for Linux, but for Mac OS, the runnable file will be .dmg if I'm not mistaken. dmg.pkg. So if you want to write, if you want to write C program in to Linux and Mac OS, you may need different what we call as different IDE or different API that supports Linux and Mac OS. Otherwise, in Java, you create Java source code Java file, and then you compile it on Windows, for example, and then it will produce a .class file, and then this .class file will and can run with any machine, whether it is Linux, Windows, Macintosh, and also Unix. Okay, provided that this install with JVM lah. Okay. The JVM might be different for each machine. For JVM for Windows might be different with Linux, with Macintosh or Unix. Okay, that's for JVM. For Linux, they have a specific dedicated JVM. Okay, specifically developed for Linux. Okay, same with Macintosh and Unix. Okay. Java provides an JVM for each platform so that programmers do not have to recompile for different platforms. Okay, okay, this one. And to use a class or package from the library, we need to use the import keyword. Okay. Similar to include, you need to import keyword. Import is similar to include function. You need to put it on the top. Okay, import package name or the folder name, then the class. Okay, this is to specify the class that you want to use. Okay, and then you can have another option is import package name dot star. Import the whole package. Okay, if we find a class we want to use, for example, the scanner class, which is java util.scanner. You use java.util is a package, while scanner is a class of java util package. So that one is a built-in package. That one is the built-in package. Now is user-defined package. Okay, to create our own package, we need to understand that Java uses a file system directory to store them, just like folders on our computer. Okay. For example, I create a folder named UTHM. Okay. in my C drive, okay, in my C drive, there is a UTHM folder, and then inside this UTHM folder, I create a source code, a Java file named myuthm.java. Okay, so this is how I create my own package with my own class, and inside my uthm.java, inside my source code, I need to include this package uthm, this to define this myuthm.java is located inside UTHM folder. So later on, I want to use, let's say there is someone want to use my UTHM class, which I developed. So in his program, in his source code, he needs to put import UTHM dot my UTHM. But in my side, as a developer, as a programmer, in my code, I need to define the package of my program. So this program, my UTHM, I put in a folder, or I put in a package name my UTHM. So I need to put this at the first line of my package UTHM, then class my UTHM. So the package stat the package statement must be the first line in the source code before any import statements. Let's say in this program I want to use date. Let's say I put import over here. Okay. So import must be after the package. Our import must be here under the package. So the package should be written before any import statement. Okay, put the package first, followed by the name of the folder, and then after that followed by any import if there are any. So later on, if somebody wants to use your program, they just need to write import or -m dot or specifically put the name of the file myuthm. That is how we create our own package. This one, our built-in package. Okay. Next is reserved words. Okay. Java has a set of keywords. They are reserved words that cannot be used as variables, methods, classes, or any other identifiers. So most of the reserved words are basically the same as you can find in other programming language. Okay. For example, in C, in C also you have boolean, you have byte, char, double, float, switch, case, if else. But in C you don't have class, abstract, you don't have extends, you don't have import, new, instance of, private. Okay, these are the new one that you will learn later on. Interface, native, public, package, implements. Okay, the rest. So these are the reserved word, meaning that you cannot create a variable name after these keywords. Okay, you cannot create int, int do, int for. Okay, so these are the reserved keywords. Java uses certain reserved word called modifiers that specify the properties of variable, methods, and classes and how they can use. In Java, there can be 4 access modifiers that can be used. They are public, default, private, and protected. Okay. So as of now, you have seen public, you have seen private. Okay. In part 1, you have seen private, right? You also you will learn this further in chapter 3. Okay. If it is declared as public modifiers, it can be seen or it can be accessed or it can be manipulated from other classes outside of its own class. If it is private, it cannot be accessed directly from other classes. It can only be accessed by another function, by setters and getters. If I'm not mistaken, in chapter 3. Okay. Okay, statements. Statement represent an action or sequence of actions. Every statement in Java ends with semicolon. Okay. For example, the statement system.out.println is the same syntax for it's the same syntax as println in C. It's just simply display whatever input inside the double quotation here. It's a bit lengthy compared to printf. Okay, you need to write the whole thing, system.out.println. This is L, not I. Okay. Okay, lowercase l, n. In a Java program is a statement to display the greeting welcome to Java. So whatever statement that you write in Java need to end with semicolon. except for some syntax such as for, such as if else, what else? Main. So every function declaration shouldn't be ended with semicolon, but most likely other statement should be ended by semicolon. And then blocks. A pair of braces or brackets in a program forms a block that groups components of a program. In Java, each block begins with an opening brace and ends with a closing brace. Every class has a class block that groups the data and methods of the class. Similarly, every method has a method block that groups the statements in the method. Blocks can be nested, meaning that one block can be placed within another as shown in the following code. Okay, so as you can see here, okay, this one is class block. Okay, blocks that embrace the class itself, the class itself. Okay, this is opening braces for welcome. This is closing bracket for welcome. Inside class welcome, we have method. We have main method. So this is the opening bracket for main method, and this is closing bracket for main method. We can also have nested block. Let's say we have another function other than main function. Let's say in the middle of this one, we have another function over here. Then we have a nested block, okay, inside this function. Okay, there are two popular style, next line style and offline style. So it's up to you. It's up to your preference whether you want to write it this way, this one, or you want to write an offline. Okay, the bracket on the same line here. Okay, so it's up to you. But I really recommend whenever you write the bracket, make sure you write in a proper identification. Use the tab. Okay. Okay, and please make sure the same alignment. So this is okay. This is different symbols. Okay, for character, name, and description. Okay. To this one to denote a block to enclose the statements, and then you use the rounded brackets. Okay, if you are using the methods, or whenever you use a method, you need to use rounded symbols here. Okay, and then what we call this as this 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 we only use for array. Okay. Okay, classes. The class is the essential Java construct to program. A class is a template or blueprint for objects. To program in Java, you must understand classes and be able to write and use them. A program is defined by using one or more classes. Okay. As I mentioned before, we can have more than one classes. One class inside Java program. Class name should be nouns in mixed case with the first letter of each internal word capitalized. For example, class car, class my home. So whenever you want to write class, please make sure you write the first letter should be in capital form. If it combines more than one word, my home, for example, for the second word, which is home, start with capital, okay, capital letter. So every class, please remember, whenever you type class in your program, you should write it with capital letter. The first letter should be capital letter, and most probably, most of the time, the class should be named after a noun, kata nama, not a verb. Okay, not a verb. It should be a noun. Try to keep your class name simple and descriptive. Use whole words. Avoid acronyms and abbreviations. Okay, unless the abbreviation is much more widely used than the long forms such as URL or HTML. Okay, methods. Methods are used to perform certain actions and they are also known as functions. A method is a block of code which only runs when it is called. Okay. Okay. So a method is only run when it is called. Where it is called? Normally in a main function. We have method over here. Okay. Then we call it inside the main function. Same as in C. Okay. Dalam main tu kita call. Okay. We can pass data known as parameters into a method. Okay. Okay. Most probably every time you write the main function, you need to write along with the string arguments. This is called parameters, strings, arguments. But most of the time, you have to leave it as it is, strings, arguments. We don't put any value over here. This is another method over here, which is my method, and this my method doesn't have any parameters inside the bracket. Okay, leave it empty. Okay, this is known as a method with no parameters. Method support code reusability, which we define the code once and use it many times, meaning that we declared it once and then we can call it as many times, okay, inside the main function. Method should be verbs in mixed case with the first letter lowercase, okay, with the first letter of each internal word capitalized. For example, run fast, get background. Okay, same as the name of the classes. Okay, the main method provides the control of program flow. The Java interpreter executes the application by invoking the main method. The main method should be look like this. Okay, public static void main. So you need to write the whole thing. Okay, public static void main string arguments. String followed by square brackets. Leave it empty inside this, then args string arguments, then put whatever statement you want to run. Okay, finish. Okay, that's all for chapter 1 part 2.